All right, so the second I started to get nerdy there, I think that the internet went out on me. So let me tell you where I was. I'm Eric Rodebois, EPGD Law. We're talking about trademarks. And I was saying how I thought it was really cool that a bunch of technocrats and politicians sat down. They actually did an international treaty. It's called the Nice Treaty. It's the city in the south of France. And they came up with a list of 45 just subject areas of all the goods and services in humanity. So on this list of 45, no matter what you do in the world, you are somewhere on that list. And obviously some of the categories are pretty broad, and some of them are pretty narrow. Like there's one for beer, and then there's one for like alcohol spirits. Then there's one for like woodcraft. There's one for metal working. There's one for medical equipment. There's one for legal services. There's one for business services. So somewhere you're on that list. Apple Computer is on computer products. They are probably also under telecommunications, and actually that's an important point. So we're going to look at what it is that you sell. If you sell t-shirts, you're going to be in one category. If you sell coffee mugs, you're going to be another. If you sell calculators, you're going to be another. If you sell service, you're going to be in one or the other. So you got to pick from the list, and typically the way that they make you pick is they make you pay a fee when you register per category. So in the state of Florida, the fee is $87, and you file your application. I think it's $87.50. And so you file your application, and that's per category. So if I'm just selling legal services, it's one, but if I'm also selling t-shirts, I'm gonna have to pay twice. Okay, now nothing changes with regards to the TM. You're still using the TM, but now if somebody in Tampa is infringing on my mark, I still have a lot of the same burdens. I've still typically got to prove that I was using it first. I've still typically got to prove that it's confusing, and I've got to prove that we're in a same or similar category of goods or services, but I now have protection throughout the whole state because anybody can go on the state website and look it up and see, hey, look, here's this registration. It's really easy to do. In Florida, it's sunbiz.org, and one of the drop-down menus is for trademark searching. Okay, so before, you're pretty much limited to your market. So maybe a Broward company versus a Miami company, we could argue that they're in the same general marketplace. But a Naples company or an Orlando company or a Jacksonville company and a Miami company might be considered in very different marketplaces. There might be no problem at all with there being an EGPD law in Tampa because I really don't care. I'm not competing for the Tampa market. However, with the state registration, I got the whole state. So if somebody comes after me in the same area and starts competing in Tampa, I have the right to send them that cease and desist letter, and then if they don't comply, I can sue them under the state statute, and remember the attorney's fees? So now the state statute is going to provide for attorney's fees, okay? That's really important. So now we're going up the list. It's getting more and more expensive. We're going to go to a federal registration. So the state registration can take as little as a few weeks. I've had it done in a week before. I guess I was really lucky. The state registration, similar process. I'm sorry, the federal registration is a similar process. You're going to do all of it online this time. It's with the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and the fees are going to go up. You're going to pay $225 up to $325 per category of good or service. So the fees are up. So if I'm selling, and this is really important, so a client comes to me and they're like, well, we're selling 5 different things. I'm like, well, that's 5 different categories. Are you ready to pony up $325 times 5? Okay? Important point that I haven't touched on yet. They differentiate at the registration levels between a word mark, okay, and what they call a design mark, or I like to call it a logo. The official word is design. So you can have, and I always pick on Coca-Cola. So you got Coca-Cola, just the words, and then you got Coca-Cola with the script. Okay, the script is going to be a design mark. The word, just the word, close your eyes, any font you can imagine, is going to be the word mark. Now that's important because they're separate applications. So you're going to do an application for federal for the word EPGD law, which I did actually, or you can do an application for federal with your cool logo with, I don't know, the scales of justice or whatever it is that you're using, which I have not done yet. But anyways, those are going to be separate applications. Typically, a law firm is going to charge you a separate fee to do each of them. Maybe they'll bundle them together, or maybe they'll do them separately. But the point is, these are the fees you have to consider. Now, the cool thing is when you're done with the registration, it takes about 6 months. We could go through all the steps on maybe a different Facebook Live posting. But when you're done, you're going to get the right to use the R. Now, word to the wise, do not use the R until you have a federal registration approved. Okay? If you use the R before, that is grounds for them to deny it if you ever apply, and technically you're in violation of federal law. Okay? Don't do it. So what I typically tell people is I say, listen, you just started your company, you got a cool logo, you got a cool name, why don't you go to your graphic designer and have him do 3 versions, okay? Do a version without a TM or an R, okay? You can start using that tomorrow. Do a version with a TM. I think it's cool. I think it stakes your claim. It tells the world at least that you mean business. And then go ahead and have your graphic designer, because you're paying him now and you don't want to have to come back a year from now when you're finally registered, have him or her do the R now, okay? So now you got these in your file or in your drawer or wherever you keep your graphic designs, and you can go ahead and put the TM one or the blank one on your website, your business card, whatever, and then as soon as you get it approved, then all of a sudden you put in the R, or you call your web guy and say, hey, switch out my logos, use the R. Now, not before, okay? But now I've got the R, and that means registered. Now, to a layperson, at least in my opinion, I think it means I've got a really cool company and I really believe in my brand. I've invested in it. I've hired a lawyer. I've filed a trademark registration. I'm the real deal. And I think a lot of times it's the appearance of success that leads to more success. So whenever I'm sitting here with my clients, a lot of times I just start picking up random objects on my desk. The calculator, you can't see it. It says Quill. I guess this was from an office supply person. It has a little registered trademark right there. The dry erase marker I use, it says Expo. It's got the little R, okay? These pens I use by Uniball that we put our logo on, they have a little R. I'm sure we could go on and on in just everyday objects in our lives. And a lot of times we don't even know. Important point, every couple of years you got to renew the registration. It's good to keep a calendar reminder, otherwise you might have to pay a penalty or you risk losing it. And it doesn't mean that just because you got the R that necessarily somebody else can't overcome you. Typically there's a 5-year period after you get approved that somebody else can pop up and say, hey, I've actually been using that brand for 10 years. I beat you because I've been doing it longer. But now with a federal registration, I got nationwide coverage. So before, maybe Broward, Miami, later on, definitely Miami, Tampa, but here, I'm talking Florida, California, New York, Texas. And so the power is a lot broader. Obviously, you pay for what you get. But in a nutshell, trademarks, I believe it's this cool confluence of business and law and art, because you're going to have these cool logos. You want to protect your brand, and you want to make sure that your company gets more valuable. And that's what this is really all about. So thanks again. This is Eric Rodebois for EPGD Law. Thanks for watching.